Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. This is Grand Arena, the final match of Week 1, Season 54. And at the start of the week, I thought we were going to have a strong chance at going 3-0, and we get our opportunity. And we get a pretty favorable matchup against Klon, who was interesting. If you saw the last video, this was a guy who has a lot of nice stuff. He has some advantages, but he's missing a lot of things, which sets me up for doing very well here. Now we're going to skip over the defensive recap. I had to record this footage throughout my workday instead of doing it live at night like I prefer, just because we were working on other videos for the channel during the evening and I got a little tired. And so that means we are recording over the live footage, which I prefer not to do. So Klon, 11.5 million GP player. He's got about 600k on me. Zetas are very strong at over 300. He's an 8 GL player, but only 27 Amis, which puts him at third in the bracket on the Omicron. So still very good, but we've got a little bit of meat here. Relics are very strong at 215. That's actually the most in the bracket. Relic distribution also strong. You see he has a healthy amount of tier 5s at 84. So he's got over 30 more than me. I have a couple more tier 7s, but tier 8s, he has 13 more. That's very strong. Mods though, I've got the mod advantage. He, I think, was probably fourth or no, even less. No, fourth or fifth in mods. And top 500, he's probably fourth again, so he's not worst in the bracket, but I think I'm second or third in the bracket. Accounts, you can see the advantages, how they fall out, where I've got 11 more, 50 more, about 50 more. Datacrons, he's participating enough, and everyone in this bracket for the most part is participating enough with the Datacrons. His GLs look good at mostly Relic 8s and 9s. Omicrons, he's got a good Malgus triple Ami at Relic 7. Ami on Radis, Iden, Starkiller, triple Amid, good speed, his dash. Wampa no Ami, that's interesting. That's one you'd think, like I'd rather have Wampa over dash or Radis, even though I know there's some things that you can do with dash, particularly on offense. He's got Savage, Traya, he's got a pretty decent Aphra, Qui-Gon's fine, Swallow, Third Sister's looking good at Relic 9, 288 speed, and actually over this live footage you're going to see that in action. But here's where we start having advantages. No Baudelaire, no BANE, and BANE in particular is very important. Now we have Maul, Jedi Knight Calcestis, he's got those though, but only 6 stars on the Leviathan. Looking at the quality of Klon's modding, he's got a very fast General Kenobi that we're looking at for his Kenobi's at like 301 speed, and his Moff Gideon's at 299. So he has 37 characters modded above 300 speed. Kenobi I find very interesting to be that fast. But you can see the characters who are falling below that mark. We're about tied, but you can see there's some characters like BT1, Grand Inquisitor. I'd like all of them faster. Now you can see here, before we start looking at this defense, we've got an hour and a half left. That's how close to the end of Grand Arena I was playing. He has done one battle up here against this lower territory, which I have changed a little bit. You can see Lord Vader and Leia in that same territory, which means I moved Leia from this top territory. And up here we've got Qui-Gon. He attempted Seer, Malakos, and lost. And then the rest of that is changed, but I decided I wanted to have that front wall more difficult, so the back wall was more of a trap. And having Leia there was going to help me do that. Now with his defense, my offense, you can see we've got Jabba, Third Sister, Zorii, Traya, and now down below we have Lord Vader, Swallow, Malgus, GEOS with a Geo Spy CRON. So that is a defense that is interesting. We're going to try some things because it's pretty safe to assume that I'm going to win this match. With that hour and a half left, he could attack, but I feel a little bit more confident that I'm going to have less issues clearing him than he would clearing me. So we begin here with Rey, and I'm just going to Starkiller. Like, you're not going to see me do Starkiller too much in 3v3, just because with Malakos we have other options. And Starkiller is good in 3v3, but it does introduce a little bit of risk, especially with these crowns. I guess, although the crown will be expiring at the end of this month. But in this case, 5v5, very reliable that my Starkiller is going to win this. But you are going to see me take a work call at some point where things are just going to stall and become very weird and inconsistent at some point. I was actually a little worried that we were going to lose this, because right as I decided I had a little bit of time to get a few battles in, we had to address some work items. And you'll see it. We're triggering damage immunity very quickly. We got it on Swallow, Rey, JTR, HOLDO. We have a moment where we could take out Rey, but she's dodging, and now we got to deal with this. Thought about for a moment triggering the Unleash, but I decided I'd rather save it for after everyone can be actually hurt by it, just because like there's a argument for the stats and for recovery, but with the healing immunity on Visas and Mace, there's no reason to do it. So now I just need this to come off, and here I think is where we take that phone call, and we're just gonna hang out. And then at some point I'm gonna get a little bit worried, where I'm a little distracted on the phone call about what can I actually be doing or focusing on. And now you're gonna see me start doing a couple. Now I'm multitasking here. We're doing both. So you're seeing some inconsistent play, but we're getting it in. Now HOLDO, AoE, hit Rey, she's gone. You can see it's not the best Rey team, because we are making a lot of progress pretty quickly. You can see some inaccurate play because my attention is divided. Rey CRON gets triggered. Now we unleash. If we had optimal play, we probably would have been able to not lose Pelp, but losing Pelp means Swallow's not coming back. So all this is good enough. And under the circumstances, we get away with one. Next up with Lord Vader, because we have Baudelaire now, we have a very strong counter, although I used to do Aphra quite a bit up against Lord Vader, but Aphra needs a little bit of Cron help, so that's been a little inconsistent. It's something where I've been wanting to invest in my Aphra a little bit more to make it more consistent, but there's really less reason to do it when we got Baudelaire. Although this is a very weak Lord Vader comp, my Aphra probably would have had a pretty strong shot at succeeding. So here, one thing I have noticed though is the Omicron that prevents Baudelaire from getting dazed is critical to this matchup. So it makes Baudelaire a 2 Ami minimum character, because all this stuff that you're seeing is not happening if you don't have that second Ami that prevents daze, that makes her immune to daze. Now the rest of this is going to go pretty smooth. Like here, I throw an armor shred on Vader so that I can have the option to potentially throw the Beskar over on Baudelaire. I decided to just stop using the other Bo-Katan because I just kind of like what BAM and the armor do. And I just didn't feel like Bo-Katan does enough. Now with Malgus, we're just going to make it straightforward, do JML with Genet Calcestis. This is just overpowered. But you either have an inconsistent chance at winning, trying to do like Bastila lead with Calcestis or something, or you just blow it up. Because you're going to see me not even get to use the one-shot with Calcestis here. Now, I probably could have played things a little bit differently, and I think in the future I will. Like, you're going to see me do Mark at some point, and I think what I should do in the future is just turn swap with Revan. And that's probably a better way to utilize our Cal. It's like right here. I go with that assist. I guess I don't mark. I go with the assist for inherited teachings. I should have swapped with Cal. That would have meant like right now I'd be doing the one shot. But instead we just rip everybody apart, and we don't even get into a position where we can. Well, I technically could have done a turn swap there too. And I finally realized there that that's what I should have been doing. Spy, we have not seen this yet. So I decided to hold off for the moment because we were at about an hour of play. And at this point, I didn't want to risk figuring that out when we had a lot more to do and maybe my opponent could show up. So we're going to go here, Phoenix, and with our GBA, and go up against this. See, Grand Inquisitor going to go right away, and that's going to take out the Brute. And now here, we're going in. This at first feels pretty good, where things are mostly going as planned. You saw me use this twice already this week, where we're getting our matches in, we're making our progress, we're taking down the third sister. But this is a high quality third sister. Actually, she's Relic 8 here, and I think when we were looking at the bracket, she was Relic 9. That must have happened after lock-in. Which actually makes sense, because I think this is a new third sister, because in his Grand Arena history from last 5v5 season, he was not using third sister. Now you see we lost Chopper. Now I'm a little worried. But we did take third sister down once. We do have 7th, very vulnerable to an AoE. But they're getting a lot of turn meter now. We did have that stagger out there, which was helpful. And boom, down goes third sister. And I'm feeling like we're okay. And it's fine so far. We AoE take down another one. Oh, okay, that was actually, we hadn't. So that's 2. And I probably should have gone after Grand Inquisitor, because now it all falls apart. Because without Sabine, there's no chance. That's actually a pretty strong argument for more investment into this squad than I have them at, but I don't want to do it. Sabine, though, would be a little justifiable. So now we got to clean this up. I'm just going to Traya it. Traya, I probably wouldn't want to do it to start, especially with the CRON, but now that they've lost some key pieces, I'm less concerned about it. Plus, we have more investment on my Sith trio than we have had in previous seasons, because now we have a Relic Traya. That's about a month old. Or not even a month old, that's like a couple weeks old. Nihilus is about a month old. Relic there. But Scion still at Gear 12. This is a squad that I like. I love the Sith. I would want them all at Relics. But for a free-to-play account like myself, that's the luxury. Like when we're working on things like Jar Jar or the new raid, territory battle investments, certain things have to be set aside, and the Sith trio are one of those things I keep setting aside. Here, Finn Zorii, especially without Rose, this is an easy one. This is why Rose needs to be on the squad. You can still win with Rose, but it's a pain with Rose. Without Rose, it's no problem. So right now I'm just adding Plague to everybody. That's why we're doing some of these specials, even though it's not a huge deal. You can also see here, this is why I don't want to have relics on a number of these characters, like Mother Telzing. Because Mother Telzing dying is to my benefit. So that's why now we're just spamming the basic. Stacking up our damage on Ventress, stacking up our damage on Daka. And I do not have the Omicron on Ventress. That's not necessary. Yeah, with that recovery, I decided we're just going to ignore Zorii. We're going to go after Finn, because Finn is kind of the engine, the hero Finn. But now with the mass assist, we can go after Zorii. You can just see we just had no problem and just ripped everything apart here. Now we're going to experiment a little bit. No, not yet. Okay, first we're doing Sith Eternal Emperor. Bring in a few Sith. This is straightforward. Get our links in. Although, I think last season I did do some dumb stuff with this, where I linked the wrong characters, just because sometimes, you know, you get in your own head, you overthink something that's easy. Yeah, but this is like free and clear. I'm trying to think, do we have nonsense to talk about? Acolyte just came out today. I need to watch it. We're going to watch it right after this. We're recording this. And I want to make sure we get this done promptly, because this past month, after a pretty rough May where there was like no videos, June we've been very strong about, and I want to keep that going. All right, here we're going to try out some different things. So Aphra up against Jabba is always one that I don't really do without crons to support it. But I wanted to try this because I haven't done it in a while, and I know it's a thing. But now I have a second Ami on Aphra. I have higher relics on BT1. So I wanted to see how this goes, because it has like it's like a 60 or 70% win rate with the Swugga data. So I wanted to see how it looked with mine. And I'm a little mixed on it, because you'll see what's going to happen. I feel like there's an RNG component to this, at least with my level investment. I think maybe if we had higher relics or we had better speeds, things would be different. You can see here, things are going okay. We take down Bosch, that's great. And maybe if we had a stronger BT1, things would be even better, because Lando would have gone down with maybe another relic level. And maybe even different investment on like IG-88, or maybe even IG-88 we should be taking out. I'm not convinced he's the best option. Now, you got to remember we can revive droids, so losing those guys isn't a big deal. I bring them back right now instead of increase in the potency, but we lose 000. And that's the RNG component I'm talking about. Losing 000, that's not a big deal. It's not ideal. I would have rather like lose Vader or IG-88. But what could have happened is we could have lost. So, or like right there, like that's getting very lucky. But what could have happened is we could have lost BT1. And that's why I feel like there's an RNG component, is because had we lost BT1, this goes completely differently. Now you can see with all that stacking mastery, we're becoming pretty survivable. Now we get all these opportunities. We're starting to rip apart the squad. Chrysanthemum's back, but now we got 3 armor shreds. We're making quick work. We got IG-88 back. And we win. But you can see a different scenario in which the Rancor eats BT1 that doesn't work. So that's why I feel like maybe if we were faster, maybe if we had higher relic levels, we can make that not so vulnerable to the RNG of Jabba. That's what we got to look to do. But you're going to see me try that out a lot more, so I just get a bigger pool of data. Because you did see in like the last video where I two-shot Jabba with Night Sisters and Mon Mothma, or Night Sisters and even Aphra. And if we don't have to do things like that anymore, it means our road back to the low end of Kyber 1 is a little bit more consistent. Now here you're seeing Tech CRON up against these guys, and it's just devastates them. It's really fun and impressed with how well it did. Now back wall, very respectable back wall. We got Bad Batch Tech CRON, we got Iden, and we got a Seer team with Maul on it, which is interesting. And it's actually something I did to my opponent. He did face it. He did face it. It's something I forgot to mention, but I threw Maul on my Seer Malgus too, and it did get a hold. And it's actually something I did because I was scouting this guy and saw he did it, and considering I completely messed up my Bane team in the last Grand Arena video because I wasn't paying attention. I usually do Bane with Darth Maul, so I just clicked on Maul and put him in there, and I went into my Bane and completely wasted that Cron because I had Bane with Conquest Maul and not Bane with Darth Maul. So I wanted to avoid that mistake happening again. I put Bane on defense, or not Bane on defense. I put Maul on defense. And I know I could put him with Lord Vader, but I don't know, I didn't want to. But it's actually something I've already adjusted to my defense for next week, is having Maul with Lord Vader, but in unlined Force user squad. I'm putting Malgus in there, but also the Inquisitors with the Ninth Sister CRON, and hopefully we can do something with Lord Vader with unlined Force users, which I have faced once. I think in season 52, it may have been season 49, and it did mess me up. I threw an Aphra and it just completely messed it up. Because what happens is the Malgus Amis revives unlined Force users. So it forces you to take out Maul twice, which is interesting. So it might be something where, even though Seer Malgus is nice, maybe we use that thing a little bit differently. Because we were also using Seer Jundo without Malgus and doing a lot with it. Maybe we go back to something like that. I don't know. We're experimenting. But now, yeah, so we have a little bit of time left in this Grand Arena, so I'm just overpowering teams. I don't want to think about it. Plus, this guy has a very respectable back wall. We are just paying it respect using strong counters. So in this case, just using the Bane Crown, blowing it up. And we're going to do the same deal, or I guess we already talked about it. That's why we use like the Inquisitors. Blew up a team. Now not this match, but this fleet becomes a little bit more work than I was expecting, this fleet territory. This goes to plan. So here, this is all normal Chimera counter, which is really one of the more fun counters. I really enjoy playing this one. And it works probably 90% of the time. Unless there's like a really good Leviathan you go up against that is just way too fast, and you don't take your turns in the order that you need to. Which, it doesn't happen so much in Grand Arena. It does happen in my fleet arena. But I don't use this to climb anymore. I used this to climb when I was still slow farming up to 7 stars on my Leviathan. Which I always slow farm that last star for these capital ships. But here we blow up, cover some health. Just very quickly take out these side ships so that we get to an advantage. We lose my defender, which isn't great. But because he's only at 6 stars, he couldn't stop my reinforcement. And here, oh no, it goes a little bit longer because of the added stacks. But Profundity here, this one doesn't go completely to plan. I think it's because I made one bad decision, and we'll talk about it. Because usually this is pretty strong, and a lot's going right at first initially. So I played this a particular way that I feel makes this fairly consistent. So we're going after the Y-Wing, and here's the critical move. Don't do the assist, you do the extra reinforced hull. Because that makes sure... doesn't make sure, but it increases the chances that you don't lose your Y-Wing and you can take out theirs, which makes all the difference. Phantom, I usually consider a mistake. I want to go and take out his Outrider as quickly as we can. We're not getting enough assists though. You can see like we're getting bad RNG on the assists. We get to this point, and that's just terrible. But now this is the mistake we made. We start going after the Falcon. I just shouldn't have done this. I should have gone after the Phantom, but I just felt like maybe we'd get the assists and we get to an advantage by taking out, but we just don't get enough assists, and now we're in a vulnerable position. We bring out the Ghost, and again, oh no, not again, because he taunts. But had I been going after the Phantom, I probably would have been in a more advantageous position. So I feel like I played this a little wrong. Although there was some bad RNG, but really it's because we started going after the Falcon. So that forces me into using Negotiator here, because we need to use something strong. But without the Y-Wing, we're going to be okay. There's also a Malevolence thing that I should probably learn. Because then I would change up my fleet defense if I felt like it was reliable enough. And maybe in some of these matches where I know we're going to win was where we should be experimenting. But I think we'll experiment in Fleet Arena first. Now, we're fine. We're bringing out Plo, getting some turn meter and some heal. Now we're just ignoring the Falcon until we have to, because I don't want to mess things up with that wobble. So you see we're just playing things safely and correctly. Get the taunt back onto the tank. Bring out Ahsoka. I decided to save the second Dispel. Cass will go down in a moment. We bomb him because Cass is almost gone. Would have been a waste of the mass assist. Take out Phantom, and now we're here. Just heal up to make sure we don't lose Anakin, because we want to try and maximize our score. And now we're in a tough position. We got Holdo, and we don't have a proper fleet yet, because we've got a bunch of weak fleets, because I don't have SLKR and I don't have Rey. So it means my Holdo's weak, my Finalizer is weak. I for a moment considered the Finalizer, but what I decided to do is I wanted to go back to something I used to do probably like a year or 2 years ago, where you can two-shot a Holdo with a weak Holdo if you mess up their cooldowns. So if you do a sacrifice fleet, the problem is your sacrifice fleet can't last that long, and all my pilots are better than they used to be or have a designated place. So with fewer like trash pilots, it means it takes them a lot longer to get through my pilots, which is bad. Probably shouldn't put Rex there. Maybe I should have put in like Karth. Put in the Ebon Hawk. That would have been a better idea, because Rex is a relic pilot. But you can see most of it's going fine. You can see this is a comeuppance fleet. And we're not trying to last long. So we're doing basics. We're doing whatever. Now we're bringing in Holdo. I'm also going to make a mistake with Holdo. But I'm kind of glad we made this mistake, because it proves the point. Like, I should have added the comeuppance, but I forgot to do it, and it's not in my preset, and it's a reminder that I need to update my preset to include the comeuppance. Normally I remember, but being crunched on time, I forgot about it. So what you can see here is their cooldowns are messed up. They're not using the right abilities in the right order, which what it does, it gives you a better opportunity to get your ult off before they do. Because the whole thing here is to be using specials while you have deflector shield. And that is why, as long as you burn the cooldowns on your enemy with a sacrifice fleet, you can make a weaker Holdo fleet have an advantage. Which is why I put deflector shield on the MG100 right away. But you can see how weak mine is. Now, here's when I realized I didn't bring in the comeuppance, because we would want the comeuppance normally. So we bring out Poe, we go with BB-8 first, so we get the turn meter, get an AoE. Now we're just doing some abilities here. Everybody's got deflector shield, so we're making progress on the alt. Now, they got the comeuppance. We get a little bit lucky, get deflector shield back out there, but our abilities are off, or are on cooldown, so it's going to take a little bit longer. We lose our tank, which is not ideal, but we got another ability here where we can bring out Clone Sergeant. And this is critical. I think Clone Sergeant is critical to this fleet, because especially at lower levels, because it really needs a second tank, because MG100 is not a great tank. Even with relics on it, I don't think it's a great tank. But here you see we get our alt off. So maybe if he had like the negotiator on defense, maybe we would have been in a much worse position, or the executor, because that would have been tougher to deal with, because we don't have the malevolence. You can see with a half hour to go, we have a pretty secure win. He never comes back. So we get our 3-0 week. We get our big crystal infusion right ahead of, or not right ahead, but during our Ultimate Journey event. And we actually use some of those crystals right away to get some extra shards of Master Qui-Gon, so I could access the second tier of that new assault battle. We'll do a quick recap. Only one opponent really attacked my defense. In this first round, Ba here, he did a partial attempt until he started failing, and he did some very strange counters, very overpowered in some cases. Like we have C here up against Malgus, that's fine. SOKR taking out Lord Vader, this is a pretty weak Lord Vader, maybe he didn't have another counter. Traya up against CLS is unnecessary. JMK Sirjunda, that is way overpowered, there's plenty of other solutions. Leia here, failing to the JMK Padme CRON, and that's why I set them down on defense. I'm kind of surprised I didn't face this yet. I expect during week 2 I'm going to see it, but I made sure to have preparations for this thing. And then he tried Sidious up against Trench, just really disrespecting the Trench CRON there. CLS taking it down, and then Lord Vader taking out Jabba, and then he gave up from there. Now round 2 with Kai Destructo, he did a little bit more work. Baudelaire taking out Lord Vader. C Malgus did a CLS mirror. Malgus taking down Sirjuna, that's fine. Bane, Leia, that makes a lot of sense. JMK mirror, that was a smart play. SOKR Jabba, JML taking down Trench. And now you can see at this point he's doing fine. Like he one-shot all these squads. He had a very strong offense, but this is where this match was saved, and a 3-0 week was saved. His Chimera counter falling to the Leviathan. That's some RNG. Like the Chimera counter is pretty safe. I'd say it wins maybe 90% of the time. So that's huge. that happened. And I have been slowly improving the quality of the mods because my fleet arena is getting a little tougher, so that may have helped a little bit. And on the rest of these, he didn't have an issue. But with a preloaded Leviathan, if you don't have the right counters, things can get tough, and I'm kind of surprised the Negotiator didn't do great here, because he did take out the tank already, but it couldn't do it, so that took care of that match. And then Klon, final match, this was a default win. He tried Sidious, and that does work up against some versions. I suspect maybe because I swapped in Maul that was able to counter it, which I guess maybe he doesn't check his Grand Arena history. The whole reason why I put in Maul was because I was looking at this guy's Grand Arena history and saw that he was using Maul with his and did stop some Sidiouses. Interesting. And we will wrap it up there. That gives me a good start to week 2. We've made a lot of changes for week 2. I'll have the roster update video up tomorrow, and then you'll be able to see the changes I made in preparation for the new assault battle, for the new raid, and for territory battles going on right now. I think I will put up a lowest viable teams video here for the Sirjunda Kelkestis node, how I handle it. I don't change my mods. You just got to be careful and take your time, and you won't have any issues handling that node basically with whatever you got. But it does take not fast mods, but good mods. So thank you for watching. Be excellent to each other, everybody. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.